A bit more of what you may or may not have liked. This time, what we're trying to do is to incorporate what you did like and to give you a little more warmth to the wood materials. It's basically the same design that you chose. It's a different type of wood. It's not as, glazed or glossed as the last one. And we had some feedback with Joe, trying to determine what type of wood we should use. I know some of you wanted a more beachy look, so we have two types of woods that we will obviously show you. One a bit more traditional and one a little more contemporary, but sleek.
You want to shut the light, please? You close the door if you want.
These are your existing ceilings as we showed you last time. The design that you chose was to keep the ceilings mainly at 7 foot 5 inches and go up in the highlighted areas 4 inches. So we will be getting to a maximum of 7 foot 8, 7 foot 9 inches where the units have their entries located. These are two images that were sent to us to give us some sort of a direction as to the warmth of the wood types that you may prefer. So this is the more beachy or casual feel. This is more of a, it's not industrial, it's a little more sleek, but still it's warm enough that you may choose to go in that direction. We chose to do our renderings and illustrations using this one because it looks a little more sleek. But you can certainly choose this type of wood in place of that. I'm sure a lot of you have looked at QVC, and whichever option you choose, the other option goes away at the end of the presentation. So think about it that way. So this is your current main entry lobby, and what we've tried to do is to, as you had a concern the last time, to keep these two tables within the design so it does not take too much away from your existing inventory. That's another shot of what you currently have, and this is what we will be proposing. So this is a new soft or softer tone woods that we're using in the ceiling, in the main pilasters, and these are the two tables with a table lamp with a more of a beachy feel to the mirror.
So the main concept stayed as far as bumping out the walls just to give you some dimension?
Yes.
And bumping up the ceiling, but just by changing the wood species, that's all that was done on these.
Yes, so not too much has changed from what you liked. We just introduced a new wood flitch as requested. This is another view, so you can see a little better what the quality of the wood looks like. And this is a final view if you have a head-on on the left side of the lobby. This is your current hallway with the pilasters, which are these. And this is our proposal, and it says option A, because we'll give you a second option, showing that new species of wood in the ceiling and on those pilasters. Again, this is your current hallway with the angled entry to the units. And this is what it would look like if we introduced that wood ceiling. I know Joe directed us to do that one. We thought we'll give you another option to look at. Again, the option goes away at the end of the day today if you choose not to go that route. But we always like giving you a second option. This is the second option for the lobby. What we have introduced in place of the wood was to introduce two pilasters, one on either side, which will be painted with a nice painted wood paneling on either side, because it gives you a more beachy feeling and a little more of the concern that one or a few people had with the more Mediterranean classical design. So we introduced this to try to satisfy that concern. This is a second look at it a little more closely, and we have left this as a painted area around the elevator, introducing a stainless steel panel on that door, and keeping the ceiling with the wood so it all ties into one option. Second view of it, head on. And last but not least, this was, again, my feeling about the space differently to what you may have thought of. Again, this is the area that we had the pilasters, and I thought maybe I'll introduce the wood in this area in a wider panel with either paintings that you may choose to put in there, or if you wanted to have a lovely carving or something in there to make it a bit more beachy, it's just an option.
Now, notice the lighting as you, when you bump up the ceiling, how when you provide more lighting just in those areas in the bump ups, how
Yes.
the light comes down, and as you go down the hallway, it gives you different dimensions of the space.
Yes, little pools of light giving you an interesting...
Could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I assume the floor is carpeted in all the views. That's
Yes, sir,
right?
it is. What you're seeing is, this is a carpet, but everywhere that you have a feature, it will be a bit brighter, because the light gives you that pool of light and gives you an interesting vista as you travel along the hall, instead of having just a bland hallway and it looks like, you know, you're on the highway to wherever. Heaven no, some people.
So how many of those light features do we have in a hallway then?
You have about 3 in the main hallway,
Uh-huh.
and I believe in the north and south wings, you may have one or two, I believe.
And we also have the raised areas
Yes.
that we showed you
And
as
that-
well. So it's not just these,
Not
but you
just
have the
these,
raised area
but
with the wood ceiling.
Wherever you see this major pool, because you see it's slightly larger, is where you would have the entry to your units. So you get more light, it's safer for you if you're coming in late at night or whatever. It gives you a bit more feeling of safety. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're looking at the painted polyesters, what are they called?
Yes.
Pilasters.
Pilasters.
Pilasters, yes.
And
Flat
then it is the
columns.
wood next to it, the dark wood next to it, is
Yes,
that right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and can we see that in A? Can you show us right now what A looked like, what you were showing?
A has just the pilaster. Oh, that's it there.
That's A,
That's A.
okay. All right,
It's the same concept, but it's just that slim pilaster, which mimics the column that you currently have, and which is this.
right.
But we've done a header and put that light feature in there to brighten the area. And this is the entryway to your units, so it's a little brighter.
Does the laid-in ceiling remain?
Yes, we have a lay-in ceiling from here back. Wherever you do not have this feature, you will have a lay-in ceiling.
It'll be smaller grid than this.
Smaller
It'll be
grid.
9/16 grid, and it'll be ceiling tiles are very fine, resemble drywall too.
So it's laid in, but it's an updated laid in.
Updated, actually, not just updated, I mean, it's designed to disappear, so it looks like drywall.
It's a new kind of lighting.
Right.
Yes, you can see the material there. And these
It's almost
splines, you have these splines will not show up as large as they do. They're very thin.
They're
So
about
they-
half that size.
half
And
that
then
size, so
we use a
they almost
special
disappear.
tegular tile that even covers it up more, so it's really minimal. But we have to have the drop ceiling for access. We can't really get
Right.
around it. But I think that's a great solution to it. And, you know, breaking it up with the drywall areas in the wood and gives it some interest.
Yes, sir. You had a question?
You answered the gentleman's question that all the renderings shown are carpeted surfaces in the floors,
Yes.
but you're showing the existing tile in the entry areas. Are we changing the tile in the entry areas as well?
No, we are not.
You're leaving the tile and to match the elevator bases, floors.
We're leaving the tile in the main lobby, and we're replacing the little section of tile in the corridors in front of the elevators with carpet. Okay,
Well,
'cause it's-
let's table that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
wait until we see pricing and scheduling and all that stuff and determine if this is really the right thing to do. I mean, we may decide at some point to just
That's
redo
right.
the whole area and just get a fresh look, but let's,
that's
for
where
the
we
time
are
being,
today.
we're assuming
Doesn't
we're
mean that
leaving
can
it.
change. So,
But if
Yeah.
the pricing is not that much to replace it and get an updated look, maybe we'll do that.
Yes, we have not touched it.
Because part of my issue with the tile by the elevator area is because from people that have lived there for a while, it seems like we have to polish it all the time and spend money on it all the time. I don't know how often it's getting done, but every couple of years, they strip it, they polish it and
refinish.
finish it, and that's money spent. So after a couple of these events, that we paid for a new tile.
Just let's clarify, you use the term singular, the entry,
Yes.
front entry.
Front
No,
entry.
I'm talking about all three entries on the three floors.
Everything is identical.
Yes, identical.
Okay,
Yes.
this
will
was
be-
no question.
Yes, this is typical of what will be happening on every floor.
Every floor and every wing.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
The gray option with the weathered look,
Yes.
the beachy look, do you have any renderings in that, any pictures of it at all?
No, we do not have the renderings because, again, I know that you're not privy to some of this, but whenever you render an object like this, it takes a few hours. So it's, we had a time constraint, but we can certainly do that as part of your final package if you chose to. But if you try to visualize the beachy wood just between this, it would be, it's almost like an ash gray. I would show you some pictures so you can see what it looks like.
Roxanne, the wood finish is not a cost add-on.
Right.
Right now, we're seeing what can be done, what
Right.
can it be done for price-wise at some point,
Right.
by the next meeting, hopefully. But
I was just
but
curious.
at least we know what can be done at this
Yeah,
point.
this looks great.
Lighting. We have introduced since the last presentation this wall sconce as an option because the last time we had this one, we had this and another little stubby one. But this is an option where it's more of a residential application, which is what you may consider, but it's very thin line, thin profile, so it's not that obtrusive for the hallways.
What kind of lamp does it have?
The two end ones are LED, the center one is not LED because it's
Is it
a different.
halogen?
Yeah, and that's why we're probably not gonna go that direction, but if you like that fixture, we can find something similar that,
Well,
it's got the LED.
it's very bright in your eyes, you're walking down the
Well, it's a
corridor.
heat thing, it's an energy
Yes,
thing too,
it's
but
yeah.
just
I
focus
hear you.
today on
Yes. but-
shapes and
Well,
stuff
when
like
you
that.
show it
so-
to me, then I think that's an
We
option.
can
So I'm
get, we
just
can get something
voicing
like
my
that.
opinion that
Mhm.
Yes.
as
You're
an
correct.
older person, that
You're
shining at a
affected.
certain height in our
Yes.
eye is very disturbing.
Okay.
We,
Okay.
we really like this fixture, the one that we started with, and the other one's an option too. And it comes in different, the
Would you
body
go
of it
with the
comes
bronze?
different finishes. Actually, this is like a champagne color, so I think that would be very nice if you go with a lighter carpet scheme. And this also comes, I can get it in nickel, I can get it in bronze, it comes in a multitude of finishes. But think we need to focus, you know, on what
Yeah.
skin we go with, what carpet, and then we're still in schematic design and.
At some point, we'll
develop
mock
that
up an
further.
actual fixture, all 3 fixtures on a wall, and
Yes.
people can see them.
But
Same
I
thing with the
appreciate your
ceiling
comment,
fan.
because that is not something that I would have thought of. I appreciate that, because it really goes to,
When you live
Yes.
something,
yes,
we have to live that on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
And it's uncomfortable.
yes. Okay, thank you for that. So we would definitely look for fixtures that are LED and not glaring, as this shows.
And we want to make sure of the temperature of the LED, because
Yes.
if you're not careful, it'll be purple
Correct. So we looking for a warmer LED than
or warmer.
or cooler. Thank
So
you.
it should be 2800 Kelvin.
2800? Okay, okay, thank you. Pendants. This is a pendant that we have currently in the rendering, but there are different finishes. You can get the bronzes, you can get the nickels, whatever. You know, your final package will be determined by you as to what material you like. But we've also introduced an option where we can have a wooden pendant too, depending on how you feel, if this is too cold and if you want something warmer. If not, you can certainly give us some direction as to if you like something more like a candelabra or a chandelier or some other fixture. That's the same pendant in that sort of a bronzy finish. And
Okay, so we have a photograph of every carpet that we're presenting today in a room format, so you can see it. And then when we're finished, I'd like to turn the lights back on and have everybody get up and take a look at the carpets. We actually have the real, you know, physical samples here today. And it starts over here. This is actually the one that I'm standing on. This is in the renderings that we were looking at today. And several of these were suggested to us, and we think we've got some really nice options, and we'll just go through it.
Yes.
And so that's the first one. I call it a flame stitch. The next one, it's an all-over pattern, kind of in a light sand color. It's got a lot of variation in it. It's very nice. This one has kind of a movement, like a wave pattern in it, which is right here, which we like a lot. We also have it in a different colorway, so you can see that. This pattern one here, sort of, I call it a flower pattern. It's not a flower, but very interesting. We have that in a photograph in 2 different colorways. The taupe color, and the rest of the next one. The blue color. I have the blue sample here. It sort of gives you an idea what that looks like. And then, these aren't the greatest photographs, but I actually have the carpets over here. They're kind of like a muted blue, a tan, and one has a grass pattern in it, and one has a little bit more organic pattern. So those are over there by the edge of the wall.
Now, all these are carpet tiles, of course.
They're all carpet
No,
tiles.
carpet
They're
tiles, yes.
different sizes, but you'll actually see, like this one is really this size carpet tile, and that's how they achieve that all-over pattern we saw. It's smaller, but they butt them to each other. It looks a little bit more like a broadloom pattern. And so we have planks, and then we have squares, and then we have these guys. And these have padding on the back. Those have a rubber backing, and then these have just a different material backing on foam padding.
Is the padding incorporated in the carpet?
Yes, it is.
Which would be quieter walking.
And a lot more comfortable, and it also lets the carpet, it wears a lot better when you have that underneath, because it's not grinding against the concrete, so it's important. More comfortable. Okay, so the blue, where I'm standing, we've seen this pattern before, just a different colorway. And then the next one is the one that looks like water, or the ocean. And that's it. So I'm going to turn the lights on.
Okay, so this presentation was a bit curtailed because we did not have as many options as previously. But we wanted to give you some more time for questions and concerns, so.
Could I go back to the lighting, not particularly those lighting
Yes, sir.
fixtures? But in your presentation in the more traditional hallway,
Yes, sir.
you only show one light source in the corridors, and that's the down light. Is there no other light source to illuminate the ceiling a little bit?
What you're thinking about is either uplighting or,
Right now, you only have down light in the
yes, sir,
corridors.
absolutely.
But we
So,
have the sconces.
But-
well, they're not in the presentation, so that's why I'm asking.
Actually, there are in the presentation. but
Not in the
those-
corridor.
Not in the corridor, you have them at your.
Right, but the
entry.
corridors are long.
Yes.
So-
Are there
so
no
in-
lights in the
In the raised
corridor?
area, we have pin lights.
Understood
And
that.
then we have down lights going down the middle.
Yes.
Understood that.
Yes.
But it's one light source in the
Uh,
corridors.
Well, it's two different fixtures, but
It's still down light.
Downlights.
Correct.
Now, I think I know what your question is.
My question is, it's going to be,
All these.
it's going to be dark. The higher you go, the darker it's gonna be. The only light you get will be reflection from the floor.
Mm.
So if there's no lights on the sides or some other source, the ceilings will be dark.
Great, that's a great statement, except that if you would notice, there's light on the walls. That depends on the light fixture that you choose. It's called a cone of spread. If we have a cone or a light fixture which has a 30-degree spread, you get a pool of light and a dark area.
I
However,
understand that totally.
the one that we will select will have a 45 to 60-degree spread, so it will come up.
That does not push light up, it only pushes light down.
You do not want to light the surface of the ceiling because it's white and you're concerned with too much glare.
Well,
Comes
I
in-
just don't want it dark either.
Oh, it will not be dark.
we do a
Because-
photometric study
Yes, we will
later
do
on
that.
when we do our construction documents.
Yes.
We have an engineer look at it. We'll make sure that the lighting's correct.
As a matter of
This
fact.
is just a rendering, just to try
I know,
to
but
give
you
you
know,
the idea.
you show it to
Yes.
us and then I have to look at it and say that's what I should anticipate, not something that isn't there. I can't anticipate something that's not there.
Well, what you see here is a light on the wall, which means the spread of the light is all the way up here.
I understand it
It's like
totally.
this room. Do you
Right.
think the ceiling is dark?
I think the ceiling,
Is dark in this room?
when you're talking about a 75-foot corridor, yes, I think the ceiling will be dark.
No, because again, it depends on how many lights we put in the spacing. Put that on, so I can show you something. Good. If I were to take this light off and this light off,
Yes,
you would get unnaturally dark in here. But because we had those two at the right spacing, you would get a brighter illumination, or brighter light candle load. That's how it was described in the industry.
well, I'd just like you to
So-
consider the thought.
Absolutely,
Because
absolutely.
as I look at the ceiling,
Yes.
the floor is very light, and as
And
you
it
go
gets
up, it
darker.
gets darker and darker. And
Right.
then when you get to the ceiling, it's dark.
It's good. So you must have, and it's done for a certain reason, you must have, because the light reflects light. And if you have too much light, which is concentrated on the ceiling, you will have that same concern that you had, where the light bounce will be directly in your eyes. So we try not to do the lighting, the uplighting in certain areas, because if you're walking down a hallway, you would see the fixture from way down there, and that is going to create a problem with uplighting. And the closer you get, because the ceiling is closer to you, then you become under that ceiling and you don't see that much, but you will see the ceiling highlighted. So, to answer your question directly, we will consider that. Your lighting levels will be like this, as bright as this, or if it's too bright for you, we can take that down. The temperature will be based on what you wanted, which is 2400K. And the spacing of the fixtures will determine that final outcome. So yes, we will address that. Good questions.
What are the wall coverings where we don't have wood?
Where you do not have wood, it will be painted and
Just painted
just
up.
painted up, yeah.
Okay.
We will not put wall coverings.
Not
because
the
those-
textured stuff that's on the walls now.
No, sir. No, sir.
Just taking it down to bare drywall.
Just drywall.
Just take it down to bare drywall.
Tinted, yes. And again, color selections will be based on what you yes, ma'am.
Right now, we have what?
Have we decided on, have we decided on floor tiles instead of carpeting for sure?
That's our recommendation, yes, that's our recommendation.
I went over to the health and wellness center that's brand new and saw the floor tiles that they just put in. It's so cold looking. I mean, I have pictures of it, it just was so cold. And the tiles weren't lined up, you know.
You're talking about this material?
Yeah.
Oh, when you say tiles, I was thinking.
Floor tiles, right.
So you don't like, you do not like those?
Well, I'm just talking about the floor tiles, when you have it. I'll show you.
Diana, there's some tile companies and tile patterns where they design them to look like there's lines, to look like, to look like tile.
Yes.
And there's tile companies, the floor companies that
This, for
don't want to do
example,
that.
Oh,
This, for example,
No.
are the floor tiles at the Health and Wellness Center.
yeah, we wouldn't be doing that.
And these are floor tiles.
Yes, but these would not look like this. They would look like,
See that? It's
Russ,
just,
bring up the photograph.
it just was so cold.
let me pull up that photograph to see if I can get you. But these are all carpet tiles. This also is carpet tiles, but they don't look as linear. So, I know, definitely. So if you wanted to, again, that's a choice. If you wanted to go back to broadwood carpets, we can definitely do that, but that has to be your choice. But what we're saying is that with the carpet tiles, it can look like this, or it can look like this. And they've done it specifically because this, you can see the tile here.
Right.
If you do not want to see that, you can definitely go back to broadwood carpets. That's totally a choice.
The disadvantage of the broadloom carpet is you can't replace a section.
That's right.
Right, but in the 15 years that we've had it, we've only had one really major thing that we've done. 15 years.
Yes.
We're grease from an AC. So in 15 years, there's really been no problem. So that's why we do something that you don't have problems.
That, Diana, it's the way you lay the tile. You can lay it so it looks like it's all continuous, or you can lay it to look like it's divided.
See, this also,
They've laid it here to look like it's continuous.
absolutely.
You know what your problem could be, is that you have small tiles. If you went to a 36-inch tile, you'd have a large design option, and it'd be more interesting material, and it would look more like drywall. But these small tiles,
Yes.
that's her problem,
That's her-
is
yes.
that the
Well, I'm gonna
tiles
beg
are
to
small.
differ. 3-foot tiles are not gonna look correct in the hallway because we have a narrow hallway.
How wide is the
And the
hallway?
pattern's gonna be cut.
It's 5'7", I believe.
Yeah, so it's.
So
It'd be
you-
too many
That's what
cuts
I
and too
don't
much
recommend,
wastage.
right, I don't recommend that.
If you put the light back on, please. Yes, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Does the color of the tile or carpeting make a difference as far as wear and tear is concerned?
Yes. If you choose a light carpet like this, after a while, you will see some of the dirt embedded in the carpet. But if you use something like this, or what you currently have here, you may not. But again, that's a choice.
That's
I do
maintenance.
not like this.
That's a
But,
maintenance issue.
This is just to show you that if you did something like this, it will hide the dirt, but it's not really very.
It's not going to what?
It'll hide your dirt.
Yes.
Exactly. The dirt, it will require less maintenance
That, however,
than the lighter.
you don't
carpet
see
would.
dirt in it, but you still get some
But
color
it's
and
not nearly
still
as
somewhat
pretty.
light.
You know, there's always trade-offs.
But yeah, there's always a trade-off on, yes, sir.
So how long, the lifetime of the two carpets
Carpet tiles,
that you just showed? The difference?
you can have carpet tiles which will last you, 10 to 15 years. We have some, again, let me explain a little of carpet technology. You have what I call tip shears carpet, which they cut just a little of the pile. It's a loop, and then some of them they would cut the tips off. So you get a nice pattern, a nice design. But whenever you cut the tip, it breaks down. If you have a loop carpet, it will last
I
longer.
understand all the hours of the
Right.
competition.
Oh, great. So, therefore, your question must be with regard to the type of carpet that you choose.
And,
So
and
if
it
you
also
choose-
depends on maintenance, how you take care of the carpet. It could be clean, it could be wet clean,
What I'm asking
so.
is the two samples that you just showed us,
Yes,
the light one and the one that would handle the dirt better.
yes.
Which handles the wear better?
Neither, same difference, the same
The
carpet.
wear would be the same.
But from a sight standpoint, for vision,
Visually, the lighter one would appear to be dirtier than,
say that again.
the lighter one will not wear as well as the darker one.
Not wear, it will
Well,
show
not wear, but
everything.
show dirt, yes, or show. It will get
The
dirty.
average length of the carpet you're recommending,
10 to 15 years.
10 to 15
And they have
years.
warranties on them.
10 to 15.
The two carpet manufacturers that we looked at are Milliken, and the other company was
Interface.
Interface.
Interface, and they're very well-respected companies with long warranties. You should know Milliken, you're from that area, right?
Yeah, yeah, you can get about 15.
North Georgia.
So Interface is too, they're from Georgia too.
The Savannah port would close down if it weren't for the carpet.
Any other concerns that I might be able to, or they might be able to answer for you? Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel that the broadloom is more a luxurious look than the tiles? Because I'm having a difficulty with tiles.
Yes, broadloom is definitely more luxurious, and it was the choice back when we were not too green conscious. Because when you're done with a carpet, like a broadloom carpet, you have to take it and dump it onto, the old pile. And it stays there and it's not great for the environment. Where these, they're recyclable, some of them. The material, you have up to sometimes 80-85% recyclable material in it. So it's weighing quite a few things. What do you want to do with the environment? What do you want to do as far as your home, how it looks? So
To me, the hallway is an extension of my home.
okay.
And so you have the one look in the hallway and you have the other look in my home. That's just personal opinion.
Yes, and I'll tell you why most designers have now gone in this direction. We have become conscious that we have to leave the planet for the next generation. So it's a conscious choice for us, not specifically for you, that we will recommend what is best for the planet eventually. However, some of us may choose to not worry too much because not many of us, and you may choose to go back to broadloom, which is not the greatest, but it's
More
more,
inviting.
well,
The softer look.
Softer,
it's a softer look, yes.
It's a different,
Less
it has more
commercial
patterns.
looking.
It's more of a residential look,
It's
yes,
less commercial.
yes.
So
Lynn,
have
could
the
you
less
hold up a
commercial,
couple of the
more inviting,
carpet
yes.
samples, because many of the people who aren't here today will be looking at this video.
We're gonna we can give you a copy of this as well, our presentation, so
Okay.
you can see the carpet in the room.
Okay, great.
So this was the first carpet that we saw.
So the plan is to send out the whole presentation to every resident.
Good, good.
If you want to send the video out too, go ahead, but the
Yes.
plan is to send the presentation out.
Send it via PDF, so.
Is there a difference
Right.
in the price between broadloom and this? Is there a big
Broadloom's
difference?
usually more expensive. Yep.
That's what that is up there. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
By what percentage?
It depends on the material. I can't say.
That's an important question. I mean, how much more expensive broadloom?
Well, Diana, it depends on, are you picking top-of-the-line broadloom versus top-of-the-line carpet?
Well, same quality.
Same quality, my experience, is you're spending about 20% more.
Okay, got it?
And behind door number 3.
Yes.
Is tile slippery on your feet?
Tile, carpet tile?
It's
I guess, the carpet
This?
tile, yeah.
it's just that it's in a tile.
No.
It's not
No, it's almost,
anything
if you
different.
think of broadloom carpet, they just cut it in little pieces so
Gee, why
that
don't
you
you
can
go
mix
over
and
and walk
match.
on it? That's
So-
what it's on the floor for.
So,
When you get tired of this, you put it in the trash, does it not affect the landfill just as much as broadleaf?
No, it does not. Good question.
How is that?
Because it does not go back to the landfill.
Where does it go?
It goes to the
Recycle.
It's recycled.
They recycle
Yes.
broadleaf now too.
Diana.
Not the
Diana.
backing, not the backing. But the backing on this has at least 80%.
If at the end our budget allows for broadloom, and that's
So
what
maybe
people want,
20% maybe.
I know,
I think
just
you're
a
going to
question.
find that.
at this
even
point,
in broadloom now,
I'm thinking there's a
changing the
$25,000
backings
difference.
So that
They
they
are.
are
Some of the
recyclable.
companies
So
27,000.
let's just not make a blanket statement that it's not recyclable, because some of them are.
Some are, but a very small
And some of
percentage.
these may not be either. I
I
mean,
think we're getting kind of
Um,
sidetracked here. Maybe can everybody
But-
come up and take a
well,
look
the
at
reason is because Diana prefers broadloom. You gave her an argument why broadloom was a bad investment, and I'm just clarifying that it may not be so.
And
That's
you-
all.
You're absolutely correct. What I'm saying is that a majority of roadways was
Fine, but you're
yes.
selecting, so you
Oh, no, no,
could
no.
select with that particular thing in mind that you're concerned about the environment. So you could select a broadloom that met that requirement.
Absolutely, that's why I said.
So that- I'm
it's a
just
choice.
trying to help
Yes,
relate it.
yes, absolutely. And what I'm saying is that it is your choice of what you choose to go with, but that has to be a choice coming from,
But it's insulting for you to say you're a bad person if you go with broadloom because it can't be recycled.
no, I'm not saying that.
That's the way it came off.
Oh, I
Sorry.
apologize. I apologize if you think I'm saying, I'm not saying that you're a bad person, I'm saying that we, as designers, are trying our
She said
best.
she felt guilty. I mean, you know.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
the point is, if we pick something that couldn't be recycled, then that would be, you know, I would feel like, wow, I shouldn't have.
Oh, no,
done that.
remember what I said, it's a personal choice.
Right,
If you
right.
choose to, but we have to, we as designers, that's why I
I got it.
clarify. We as
Oh,
designers
okay.
have a mandate.
And so as a designer,
Time out.
you can find a broadloom that meets the requirements.
I'm sorry?
Hold on, hold on.
Time out, time out. This is a meeting of what could be done. This is a meeting of what could be done, nothing more.
Go ahead, Judy, what do you do?
I see.
Yes, but
The first one up there. This is this one. Did I see the first one? Or is that?
Yeah, well, this was the trim color or something.
Thank you.
But, you know,
Question?
Yes, sir.
I would ask that you do a couple of things.
Yes.
One, you said that we're going to convert to a plain drywall hallway walls
Yes, sir.
with no chair rail to intercept all the buggy bumps and all that. That's a real maintenance issue, real issue. And secondly, evidently you've come up with a solution to the relocation of some pipes, vents, whatever,
Yes.
in the cavity above our ceiling.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then if that is an option and you have alternate sources of those items, then I ask that you consider making more of those reliefs so that we have more of a scallop cut or double dimension or something, so that if we're going to go to the cost of reusing those cavities, and you've got a solution to doing that, let's expand upon what amplifies that from a design concept.
From a design concept, we can do it. From a cost standpoint, it becomes a little difficult.
Okay.
Because whenever you have to relocate sprinkler heads, whenever you have to relocate certain cable raceways, whenever you have to go close to that AC duct.
I understand all that, you've done all that, because you got 3 relief areas that you're proposing.
True.
So I'm asking you to expand upon how we amplify those areas.
You can, but it's a cost item that you will have to consider. We can definitely do so.
Or once we start getting into the pricing, we know what it's gonna cost to do one bump. You can just scale it up from there.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're gonna move it, you have an option of location. So what that should be reflected by is what you want in terms of finished product. And can you pyramid it? Can you arc it? what options do we have?
3 to 4 inches is all
3 to
you
4
got.
inches.
Is all you got.
That's right.
3 to 4 inches.
There's no
That's it.
pyramid, there's no arc.
There's not enough clearance in that.
make something.
I'm sorry, it's not. Because what you have is the slab is so low, and you have your AC ducting, you only have 4 inches that you can actually penetrate.
So it comes down to what our limitations are on alternate AC duct.
Yes,
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So if you look at the floor here, they're carpet tiles. See how they don't match? They go different directions? I mean, is this the look?
That's
Oh,
because
no.
the pattern in this, if you look at these are totally different.
These are going vertical and horizontal. So
This is a
they're,
choice.
they made the choice to make them look different.
They did that because they don't match.
Eventually, yeah.
And if they put them in the same direction, they would look worse.
I don't think the
It
tiles.
depends on your,
true.
yeah, it depends on your match.
I don't think the
absolutely.
tiles are.
Yes.
Depends on the material that you select.
Correct.
This material was meant to be laid this way.
Yes.
It was not meant to be laid.
We haven't done anything right now.
No, it's a
Yeah,
certain
yes.
airport.
Stacked.
It's like wallpaper.
Like
Yes. So, is everybody, yes, sir?
Let me just make one statement.
Yes, sir.
To me, the tiles end up looking like an airport,
Okay.
okay? And I think we've got to look at the price of what is it going to cost to put broadloom back in and what kind of quality of broadloom.
Right.
I don't think we're going to get consensus on your
And
tile.
we're not trying to, so, again, this was just a meeting, what could be done, we know what can be done now.
So, my question is, are you okay with the lighter, that's a question to you that you have to discuss. Are you okay with the lighter colors and the darker colors? Are you okay with tans instead of greens? You know, those are things that,
We've got to see some samples of broadloom.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you.
Was very nice. I like that. But it's a broad-
It looks like Melbourne Airport. This will be a trend.
Yeah, for the presentation.
thank you very much, everyone. Very good. If,
Listen up, everyone. Listen up.
if we have answered all your questions, I am very thankful to have had the opportunity to present to you guys. It's been a great crowd. And your concerns, if you have many or any, you can express them to Joe during your committee meetings, and he would pass them to us, and we would try to resolve it for you.
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
Why did you choose a darker wood as opposed to the lighter color ash? In your,
To begin with,
No,
The original?
no, but you're the pros here.
Yes.
So if you were gonna do this job, and everyone said, well, you just do what you think is gonna be the best, what would you do? And why would you use a darker as opposed to a lighter?
I think, can I answer this?
Please.
The darker, originally, we had a little bit more contemporary look, and we thought that was very, a little bit more modern, and it looked really nice with the carpets that we selected. And then we were kind of given some direction to make it look a little more beachy, maybe a little more residential, a little warmer. So that's why we have, the little bit lighter woods. And I think those look very nice with this selection that we've provided, so.
Yeah, but that's really not answering my question. If you had free reign to do the design and pick the colors, et cetera, would you why would you use the darker as opposed to the lighter? I mean, you're saying, well, you've got an option, but I'm
Yes.
asking you as the professional, what would you
They might-
use?
They might choose two different things,
Well,
because it's a personal opinion,
Could be.
right?
And I have a favorite.
It depends. For me, the choice was, as Joe did a brilliant job by sending us those two different
Right.
options. I did test it to see what it looks like on the machine.
10 years.
The outcome was, if you have that sort of elegant design with too casual a wood material, does not look very what you're trying to maintain, a Mediterranean
Right,
style.
okay.
You can do Mediterranean
No,
style.
I like that, that's a good answer, I like it.
In the first picture, you had light wood.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you just put that on real fast? Just-
You need to develop, you know,
It does.
that's
Yeah, I just.
so you're 3 blocks away from everybody. Okay.
Our child doesn't look like that at all.
No, I get
No, that's not what I meant. Carpet on top of the light.
It was the original photograph of a when you had the driftwood samples and then
Listen up, let's ask the
the
question.
very first photo.
At the beginning of the presentation.
Heather's photo.
Yeah.
So you prefer this?
No.
That.
That's what they showed. I just wanted to look at it because you were asking about.
Yes,
lighter
this is more of an ash.
But
Yeah.
Who said
they
we wanted
can
to keep the
use
tables
that
in-
finish.
in-
See, this looks like driftwood, but you can use those gray tones and have that finish.
Correct.
Absolutely can.
And that would be really nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is too beachy.
Yes.
This is too modern.
This is too-
But if you take the colors from that and apply it to this
Into it like
finish,
a nice smooth.
a smoother,
Right.
more
Absolutely.
modern.
If you read the lettering, that's what it
Right
says.
in, right
We
out.
feel that.
That's my favorite lettering.
We can't read that, it's small.
Nice with the building as well.
Yeah, I would have loved to have done every permutation for you, just the time constraint that we
That's
had.
good. Those are,
So, I had to make a choice. What do I want to show to you as a possibility?
come up with a consensus and.
Folks, at some point, when we decide to do, if and when we decide to do something, we can build one of these as a mock-up and just test the finishes and test the woods. I mean, we're not gonna build the whole hallway and say, okay, you're stuck with it.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that I think you took our suggestions and you did a great job.
Thank you very much.
I was under the impression when I was here last time that you were gonna come up with some type of a faux stone for the hallways, and I don't see that here.
A faux stone?
More Mediterranean.
Yeah, Mediterranean type of style,
Well, we actually did
yeah,
that,
all
but
I
we
do
did it
is
in
see, I
gray.
see modern that does not really fit
You
with.
didn't see the second presentation, did you?
Option B, look at
Did you see option
option B.
B? You weren't here, were you?
Well,
No, but what I did was set up
Can you look at this? This is the second option, that you missed. Wes, could you welcome?
But that even looks very modern too with the chandeliers.
Wow.
It's something I would expect to see in a fairly new hotel on off Fifth Avenue or something in New York. It's not that-
Yes, I understand what you're saying. But again, I'm sorry that you missed the presentation, but what I said was, if you chose to go with a chandelier or a candelabra or some sort of a wooden tag fixture, that is something that you can do. We're giving you that option. What I'm saying is that I tried to appease whoever wanted that Mediterranean style by putting in more of the paneling and the pilasters and stuff like that in a classical format, so that it does somewhat cover.
Well, this is the main entranceway. How's that look in the hallway then?
In the hallway, we did something like this.
See?
So it's a little more classical, it's a little more Mediterranean style. And again, if you wanted to, you can decide, okay, well, and I did this specifically, I did 2 pieces of imagery from the Mediterranean, because you have blues and whites in Mediterranean design, you have oranges and pink. You can choose to put anything in there, which would then raise the elements of that design to make it more Mediterranean. So
Even with that, it looks like it's a very long hallway, you know, you put
It is a long hallway.
it is a long
Well, I realize, but that's what you want to do is break it up.
Yes, sir.
So divert the eye. So that
That's
you
exactly what I
yeah.
did, yes. So I'm hoping that we were able to meet the different.
How about having a light fixture instead of the artwork?
You can do
that.
You can put something that's more of a
Yes.
canopy. That's-
However, based on the ADA code, we cannot have a fixture which extends more than 4 inches into that hallway.
To be very careful.
Yes.
For
So,
all of us to agree on artwork as we look at our hallways now.
Right.
It's a,
Yes.
whoa.
So the problem is that these bump outs are about, let's say, 3 inches,
Yes.
and
I get that.
your total projection should be less than 4.
Yes. So this is 4 inches to the face of that sill.
Wow.
So
That's what?
you're limited.
4 inches.
4 inches.
Boy, it'll be beautiful.
Based on the handicap or ADA codes, we cannot go more than 4 inches into the hallway.
But he was just suggesting a faux stone finish instead of it's wood. How would that look?
You can change this out to faux stone, you can change it out to a lighter material, wood. That is optional to you. So if you said to us, faux stone, we can do that.
And that would be the ceiling also, right?
I would
No,
not
you wouldn't
put
want it on the
faux
ceiling,
stone
you
on
just
the
want it-
ceiling.
Just on the side?
Yes, ma'am.
I think that the concept that you have come up with
Yes, sir.
to break up the long hallway is absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Yes, sir.
The only thing that has to be decided is what stones or wood or what.
Yes, that final finish between those two pallets. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Again, it's been a pleasure. I hope
Thank
we.
you. Thank you.
Guess we need to look at
tell me why the wall shows that?